Well, roses are a fresh and fragrant addition to any yardscape. And while they may seem like a lot of work, you might be surprised to find out there are actually easy to grow varieties. Better Homes and Gardens editor-in-chief Stephen Orr explains in this edition of The Dirt.
Everybody loves roses, but some of us as gardeners kind of went through a rose phase and then kind of gave up a little bit because they can be difficult. But these are the roses that are not difficult. These are roses that are bred to be more low maintenance, more disease resistant, and just easier to use. As a big group, they're called shrub roses. It's kind of a catch-all umbrella for plants that are grown for the way the plant looks as much as the flower. Because I'd say about 50 or 70 years ago, somewhere in the middle of the last century, roses were really grown for only the flower. And we may all think of those rose gardens where it's just a bunch of spindly plants with a beautiful flower and nothing else. But these roses are actually meant to be integrated into your garden. They're really great plants that are either small, medium, or large shrubs. We have several varieties here. The most famous, and it's probably the best-selling rose in the world, or at least one of the best-selling roses in the world, is the knockout rose. It comes in a variety of colors. Knockout roses are very famous for being long-blooming. They bloom all summer long, basically, almost till fall or all the way till frost. They are medium-sized shrubs that are almost as wide as they are tall. So you can plant them in a big bank of roses if you want to have a long line of them along a fence, but also they look good sprinkled in amongst other perennials or other shrubs. Other type of rose that's really good is these new drift roses. These are newer. This has a tiny little flower here, a little apricot colored rose. These are also good for as a ground cover rose, as they're called, because they'll just be thick and they'll grow and they'll cover a big space, but they're also good to incorporate into a flower bed of herbs and annuals and perennials. We also have an Easy Elegance series here as well. All of these series are great to look at, and you can just pick different colors that you like the best. All of these roses are easy to find online and in nurseries. They're very popular these days. If you want to look, do some internet research and find out which roses do best for you, you can look at the American Rose Society. They have a lot of good tips, and also they list varieties that get awards for hardiness or being roses that grow across the country. One of the things I love about roses is the fragrance, and sometimes when they're breeding for all the things like disease resistance or hardiness or low maintenance, sometimes the fragrance kind of was the last thing they're paying attention to. I do notice that fragrance is coming back in on certain of the lines. So this Easy Elegance Yellow Brick Rose has a really beautiful classic rose fragrance, whereas the Knockout doesn't have as much fragrance. So if you love the smell of roses, you know, when you go to the nursery, just take a sniff and see which one combines all the traits that you'd like to have. As far as planting roses, basically like any shrub or perennial, you can plant them as a container plant. You can plant them in the spring, summer, or fall. I wouldn't plant them when they're really hot because that's stressful for any plant.
Well, for more great gardening tips, including best practices when it comes to fertilizing and long-term care, go to bhg.com and get growing.